Krishna. We'd like to welcome everyone to our weekly Sunday Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada. All of you online, we welcome you as well. And as we always do, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnuvidaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Vastuchadi Shakarane to each other Vanchakavadurvisja Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, everyone, you can open up your Krishna book to chapter 46. Is that mine or who's separate? Chapter 46, Uddhava visits Vrindavan. Nanda Maharaj. It was certainly a very pathetic scene for the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Srimati Radharani, and all the other residents of Vrindavan. Many devotees have tried to make adjustments to Krishna's being away from Vrindavan, because according to expert opinion, Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, never goes even a step out of Vrindavan. He always remains there. The explanation of expert devotees is that Krishna was actually not absent from Vrindavan. He came back with Nanda Maharaj as promised. We do a paragraph at a time.
When Krishna was starting from Mathura,
A little closer, a little louder.
when Krishna was starting for Mathura on the chariot driven by Akura, and the gopis were blocking the way, Krishna assured them that he was coming back just after finishing his business in Mathura. He told them not to be overwhelmed, and in this way pacified them. But when he failed to come back with Nanda Maharaj, it appeared that he either cheated them or could not keep his promise. Expert devotees, however, have decided that Krishna was neither a cheater nor a breaker of promises.
Can somebody turn that off?
Krishna, in his original identity, returned with Nanda Maharaj and stayed with the gopis and Mother Yashoda in his Bhav expansion. Krishna and Balaram remained in Mathura, not in their original forms, but in their expansions as Vasudeva and Shankarsana. The real Krishna and Balaram were in Vrindavan in their Bhav manifestation, whereas in Mathura, they appeared in their Prabhav and Vaibhav expansions. This is the expert opinion of advanced devotees of Krishna. Externally, however, they were absent from Vrindavan. Therefore, when Nanda Maharaj was preparing to return to Vrindavan, there was some discussion between him and the boys concerning how they could live in separation. The conclusion to separate was reached by mutual agreement.
Vasudeva and Devaki, who happened to be the real parents of Krishna and Balaram, wanted to keep them now because of the death of Kansa. While Kansa was alive, Krishna and Balaram were kept under the protection of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. Now naturally, the father and mother of Krishna and Balaram wanted them to remain specifically for the reformatory function of purification, the sacred thread ceremony. They also wanted to give them a proper education, for this is the duty of father. Another consideration was that all the friends of Kansa outside Mathura were planning to attack Mathura. For that reason also, Krishna's presence was required. Krishna did not want Vrindavan disturbed by enemies like Dantavakra and Jarasandha. If Krishna were to go to Vrindavan, these enemies would not only attack Mathura, but would go on to Vrindavan and the peaceful inhabitants of Vrindavan would be disturbed. Krishna therefore decided to remain in Mathura, and Nanda Maharaj went back to Vrindavan. Although the inhabitants of Vrindavan felt separation from Krishna, the resulting ecstasy, that's power, caused them to perceive that Krishna was always present with them by his Leela or pastimes.
Since Krishna had departed from Vrindavan and gone to Mathura, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Srimati Radharani, the gopis, and the cowherd boys, were simply thinking of Krishna at every step. They were thinking, here Krishna was playing in this way, here Krishna was blowing the flute, Krishna was joking with us in this way, and Krishna was embracing us like this. This is called Leela Smarana, and it is the process of association with Krishna most recommended by the great devotees. Even Lord Chaitanya, when he was at Puri, enjoyed Leela Smaranam, association with Krishna. Those in the most exalted position of devotional service and ecstasy can live with Krishna always by remembering his pastimes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a transcendental literary work entitled Krishna Bhavamrita, which is full of Krishna's pastimes. Exalted devotees can remain absorbed in Krishna's thought by reading such books. Any book of Krishna Leela, even this book, Krishna, or our teachings of Lord Chaitanya, is actually solace for devotees feeling separation from Krishna. Can I say one short thing? When Srila Prabhupada asked me to live in Vrindavan, he said, and all I desire is my disciples. Here you can have your own room and take prasadam and associate. And okay, all right, sorry. He said to read books like Krishna. Okay, I'm done. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, you're right, sorry.
Krishna and Balaram, where are we?
That Krishna and Balaram. Yes. That's a new paragraph. That Krishna and Balaram did not return to Vrindavan can be adjusted as followed. They did not break their promise to return to Vrindavan, nor were they absent, but their presence was necessary in Mathura.
In the meantime, Uddhav, the cousin brother of Krishna's, came to see Krishna from Dwarka. He was the son of Vasudev's brother and was almost the same age as Krishna. His bodily features resembled Krishna's almost exactly. After Krishna returned from his teacher's home, he was pleased to see Uddhava, who happened to be his dearmost friend. Krishna wanted to send him to Vrindavan with a message to the residents to pacify their deep feelings of separation. Shall I go on? That was a shorty. Cool.
Is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita, Yayatamam prabhajante tam stataiva bhajamiyaham. Krishna is very responsive. He responds in proportion to the devotee's advancement in devotional service. Thus, as the gopis were thinking of Krishna in separation 24 hours a day, so Krishna was also always thinking of the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the other residents of Vrindavan. Although he appeared to be away from them, He could understand how they were transcendentally aggrieved, and so he immediately wanted to send Uddhava to give them a message of solace.
Uddhav is described as the most exalted personality in the Vishnu dynasty, being almost equal to Krishna. He was a great friend of Krishna's, and being the direct student of Brihaspati, the teacher and priest of the heavenly planets, he was very intelligent and sharp in decision. Intellectually, he was highly qualified. Krishna, being his very loving friend, wanted to send Uddhav to Vrindavan just to study the highly elevated, ecstatic devotional service practiced there. Even if one is highly elevated in material education and is even the disciple of Brihaspati, he still has to learn from the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan how to love Krishna to the highest degree. It was Krishna's special favor to Uddhav to send him to Vrindavan with a message for the residents there, which was meant to pacify them.
Lord Krishna is also named Hari, which means one who takes away all distress from the surrendered souls. Lord Chaitanya stressed that there cannot at any time be a worship as exalted as that realized by the gopis. Being very anxious about the gopis' grief, Krishna talked with Uddhava and politely requested him to go to Vrindavan. Shaking Uddhava's hand with his own hands, he said, "My dear gentle friend Uddhava, please go immediately to Vrindavan and try to pacify my father and mother, Nand Maharaj and Yasoda Devi, and the gopis. They are grief-stricken, as if suffering from great ailments. Go and give them a message. I hope their ailments will be partially relieved. Gopis are always absorbed in thoughts of me. They have dedicated body, desire, life, and soul to me. I am anxious not only for the gopis, but for anyone who sacrifices society, friendship, love, and personal comforts for me. It is my duty to protect such exalted devotees. The gopis are the most dear. They always think of me in such a way that they remain overwhelmed and almost dead in anxiety due to separation from me. They are keeping alive simply by thinking that I am returning to them very soon."
Requested to by Lord Krishna, Uddhav immediately leapt on his chariot and carried the message to Gokul. He approached Vrindavan at sunset, when the cows were returning home for the pasturing ground. Uddhav and his chariot were covered by the dust raised by the hoofs of the cows. He saw bulls running after cows for mating. Other cows with overlanded milk bags were running after their calves to feed them with milk. Uddhav saw that the entire land of Vrindavan was filled with white cows and their calves, running here and there all over the Gokul, and he could hear the sound of milking. Every residential house in Vrindavan was decorated for the worship of the sun god and the fire god, and for the reception of guests, cows, brahmanas, and demigods. Every home was sanctified by lights and incense all over Vrindavan. There were nice gardens filled with flowers and the sounds of humming bees and singing birds. The lakes were filled with lotus flowers and with ducks and swans.
Uddhava entered the house of Nanda Maharaja and was received as a representative of Vasudeva. Nanda Maharaja offered him a sitting place and sat down with him to ask about messages from Krishna, Balarama, and other family members in Mathura. He could understand that Uddhava was a very confidential friend of Krishna's and therefore must have come with good messages. My dear Uddhava, he said, how is my friend Vasudeva enjoying life? He is now released from the prison of Kamsa and he is now with his friends and his children, Krishna and Balarama. So he must be very happy. Tell me about him and his welfare. We are also very happy that Kamsa, the most sinful demon, has been killed. He was always envious of the family of the Yadus, his relatives. Now, because of his sinful activities, he is dead and gone, along with all his brothers.
Please let us know whether Krishna now remembers his father and mother and his friends and companions in Vrindavana. Does he like to remember his cows, his gopis, his Govardhana hill, his pasturing grounds in Vrindavana? Or has he now forgotten all this? Is there any possibility of his coming back to his friends and relatives so we can again see his beautiful face with his raised nose and lotus-like eyes? We remember how he saved us from the forest fire, how he saved us from the great snake Kailya in the Yamuna, and how he saved us from so many other demons, and we simply think of how much we are obliged to him for giving us protection in many dangerous situations. My dear Uddhav, when we think of Krishna's beautiful face and eyes and his different activities here in Vrindavana, we become so overwhelmed that all activities cease. We simply think of Krishna, how he used to smile and how he looked upon us with grace. When we go to the banks of Yamuna, or the lakes of Vrindavana, or near Govardhana hill, or the pasture fields, we see that impressions of Krishna footprints are still on the surface of the earth. We remember him playing in those places because he was constantly visiting them. When his appearance within our minds become manifest, we immediately become absorbed in thought of him.
We think, therefore, that Krishna and Balaram may be chief demigods in heaven, who have appeared before us like ordinary boys to execute particular duties on earth. This was foretold by Garga Muni when making Krishna's horoscope. If Krishna were not a great personality, how could he have killed Kamsa, who possessed the strength of 10,000 elephants? Besides Kamsa, there were the very strong wrestlers as well as the giant elephant Kuvalyapida. Krishna killed all these animals and demons just as a lion kills an ordinary animal. How wonderful it is that Krishna took in one hand the big, heavy bow made of 3-joined palm trees and broke it very quickly. How wonderful it is that for 7 days continuously he held up Govardhan hill with one hand. How wonderful it is that he has killed all the demons like Pralambasura, Dhenukasura, Arishtasura, Trinavarta and Bakasura. They were so strong that even the demigods in the heavenly planets were afraid of them, but Krishna killed them as easily as anything.
While describing the uncommon activities of Krishna before Uddhava, Nanda Maharaj gradually became overwhelmed and could no longer speak. As for Mother Yashoda, she sat by the side of her husband and heard the pastimes of Krishna without speaking. She simply cried incessantly, and the milk poured from her breast. When Uddhava saw Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda so extraordinarily overwhelmed with thoughts of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when he experienced their extraordinary affection for him, he also became overwhelmed and spoke as follows. My dear mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaja, you are most respectable among human beings because no one but you can meditate in such transcendental ecstasy.
Uddhava continued, Balaram and Krishna are the original personalities of Godhead, from whom the cosmic manifestation emanates. They are chief among all personalities. Each of them is both the material and the efficient cause of this material creation. Material nature is conducted by the Purusha incarnations, who all act under Krishna and Balarama. By their partial representations, they enter the hearts of all living entities. They are the source of all knowledge and all forgetfulness also. This is confirmed by Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita, 15th chapter. I am present in everyone's heart, and I cause one to remember and to forget. I am the original compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the actual knower of the Vedas. Uddhava continued, if at the time of death a person can fix his pure mind upon Krishna, even for a moment, after giving up his material body, he becomes eligible to appear in his original spiritual body, just as the sun rises with all illumination. Passing from his life in this way, he immediately enters into the spiritual kingdom, Vaikuntha.
This is the result of Krishna conscious practice. If we practice Krishna consciousness in this present body while in a healthy condition and in good mind, simply by chanting the holy Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we will have every possibility of fixing the mind upon Krishna at the time of death. If we do this, then our lives become successful without any doubt. But if we keep our minds always absorbed in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, then naturally at the time of death, we shall think of such activities and again be forced to enter material conditioned bodies to suffer the threefold miseries of material existence. Therefore, to remain always absorbed in Krishna consciousness was the standard of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, as exhibited by Maharaj Nanda, Yashoda, and the gopis. If we can simply follow in their footsteps, even to a minute proportion, our lives will surely become successful, and we shall enter the spiritual kingdom, Vaikuntha. Goloka.
Thank you, Mother. My dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Uddhava continued, you have thus fixed your minds wholly and solely upon that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, whose transcendental form is the cause of impersonal Brahman. The Brahman effulgence is only the bodily rays of Narayan, and because you are always absorbed in ecstatic thought of Krishna and Balaram, what pious activity remains for you to perform? I have brought a message from Krishna that he will very soon come back to Vrindavan and satisfy you by his personal presence. Krishna promised that he would come back to Vrindavan after finishing his business in Mathura. This promise he will surely fulfill. I therefore request the two of you, who are the best among all who are fortunate, not to be aggrieved on account of Krishna's absence.
You are already perceiving his presence 24 hours a day. Yet he will come and see you very soon. Actually, he is present everywhere and in everyone's heart, just as fire is present in wood. Since Krishna is the super soul, he regards everyone equally. He sees no one as his enemy, no one as his friend, and no one as lower or higher than him. He actually has no father, mother, brother, or relative, nor does he require society, friendship, and love. He does not have a material body like us. He never appears or takes birth like an ordinary human being. He does not appear in higher or lower species of life like ordinary living entities who are forced to take birth on account of their previous fruitive activities. He appears by his internal potency just to give protection to his devotees. He is never influenced by the modes of material nature. But when he appears within the material world, he seems to act like an ordinary living entity under the spell of the modes of material nature. But in fact, he is the overseer of the material creation, and while remaining unaffected by the material modes of nature, he creates, maintains, and dissolves the whole cosmic manifestation. We wrongly look upon Krishna and Balarama as ordinary human beings, just as whirling men see the whole world whirling around him. The personality of Godhead is no one's son. He is actually everyone's father, mother, and supreme controller. There is no doubt of this. Whatever is already being experienced, whatever is not being experienced, whatever already exists, does not exist or will exist in the future. Whatever is the smallest and whatever is the biggest have no existence. Outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything rests in Him, but He is untouched by everything manifested.
Nanda and Uddhava thus passed the whole night discussing Krishna. In the morning, the gopis prepared for morning arati by lighting their lamps and sprinkling butter mixed with yogurt. After finishing their Mangal arati, they engaged themselves in churning butter from yogurt. While the gopis were thus engaged, the lamps reflected on their ornaments made the ornaments still brighter. Their churning rods, their arms, their earrings, their bangles, their breasts, everything moved, and kumkum powder gave their faces a saffron luster comparable to the rising sun. While making sounds by churning, they also sang the glories of Krishna. The two sound vibrations mixed together ascended to the sky and sanctified the whole atmosphere.
After sunrise, the gopis came as usual to offer their respects to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. But when they saw the golden chariot of Uddhava at the door, they began to inquire among themselves, what was that chariot and to whom did it belong? Some of them inquired whether Akrura, who had taken away Krishna, had returned. They were not very much pleased with Akrura because, being engaged in the service of Kamsa, he had taken lotus-eyed Krishna away to the city of Mathura. All the gopis conjectured that Akrura might have come again to fulfill another cruel plan. But they thought, we are now dead bodies without our Supreme Master Krishna. What further act can Akrura preparate against these dead bodies? While they were talking in this way, Uddhava finished his morning ablutions, prayers, and chanting and came before them. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 46th chapter of Krishna. Uddhava visits Vrindavan. Hari Bol!
Chapter 47 Delivery of the Message of Krishna to the Gopis. When the gopis saw Uddhava, they observed that his features almost exactly resembled those of Krishna, and they could understand that he was a great devotee of Krishna's. His arms were very long, and his eyes were just like the petals of the lotus flower. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore a garland of lotus flowers. His face was very beautiful. Having achieved the liberation of Sarupya and thus having the same bodily features as the Lord, Uddhava looked almost like Krishna. In Krishna's absence, the gopis had been coming dutifully to visit Mother Yashoda's house early in the morning. They knew that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda were always grief-stricken, and they had made it their first duty to come and pay their respects to the most exalted elder personalities of Vrindavan. Seeing the friends of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda would remember Krishna himself and be satisfied. And the gopis would also be pleased by seeing Nanda and Yashoda.
When the gopis saw that Uddhava was representing Krishna, even to his bodily features, they thought he must be a soul completely surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They began to contemplate, what is this boy who looks just like Krishna? He has the same eyes like lotus petals, the same raised nose, and a beautiful face. And he is smiling in the same way. In all respects, he resembles Krishna, Shyamasundar, the beautiful blackish boy. He even dressed exactly like Krishna. Where has this boy come from? Who is the fortunate girl who has him for her husband? Thus they talked among themselves. They were very anxious to know about him. Because they were simple, unsophisticated village girls. They surrounded Uddhava.
When the gopis understood that Uddhava had a message from Krishna, they became very happy and called him to a secluded place and offered him a nice sitting place. They wanted to talk to him very freely and did not want to be embarrassed before unknown persons. They welcomed him with polite words and great submissiveness. We know that you are a most confidential associate of Krishna, and that he has therefore sent you to Vrindavan to give solace to his father and mother. We can understand that family affection is very strong. Even great sages who have taken to the renounced order of life cannot give up family affection cent%. Sometimes they think of their family members. Krishna has therefore sent you to this father and mother. Otherwise, he has no further business in Vrindavan. He's now in town. What does he have to know about Vrindavan village or the cows pasturing grounds? These are not at all useful for Krishna because he is now a man of the city.
Surely he has nothing to do with persons who do not happen to be his family members. Friendships with those outside the family continue as long as there is some selfish interest in them. Otherwise, why should one bother about those outside the family? Specifically, a person attached to the wives of others is interested in them as long as there is a need of sense gratification, just as bumblebees have interest in flowers as long as they want to take the honey out of them. It is psychologically very natural that a prostitute does not care for her paramour as soon as he loses his money. Similarly, when the citizens find that a government is incapable of giving them full protection, they leave the country. A student, after finishing his education, gives up his relationship with the teacher in the school. A priest, after taking his reward from the worshiper, gives him up. When the fruit season is over, birds are no longer interested in the tree. Just after eating in the house of a host, the guest gives up his relationship with him. After a forest fire, when there is a scarcity of green grass, deers and other animals give up the forest. And so, a man, after enjoying his girlfriend, gives up his connection with her. In this way,
they even forgot about themselves as their interest in Krishna increased more and more.
One of the gopis, namely Srimati Radharani, was so much absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna by dint of her personal touch with him that she actually began to talk with a bumblebee, which was flying there and trying to touch her lotus feet. While the other gopis were talking with Krishna's messenger, Uddhava, Srimati Radharani took that bumblebee to be a messenger from Krishna and began to talk with it as follows. Bumblebee, you are accustomed to drinking honey from flower to flower, and therefore you have preferred to be a messenger of Krishna, who is of the same nature as you. I can see in your mustache the red powder of kumkuma, which was smeared on the flower garland of Krishna, while it was pressed against the breasts of some other girl who is my competitor. You feel very proud of having touched that garland, and your mustache have become reddish. You have come here carrying a message for me, anxious to touch my feet. But my dear bumblebee, let me warn you, don't touch me. I don't want any messages from your unreliable master. You are the unreliable servant of an unreliable master.
It may be that Srimati Radharani purposely addressed the bumblebee scarcity in order to indirectly criticize the messenger Uddhava. Like the other gopis, Srimati Radharani said that Uddhav's bodily features resembled Krishna's, but she also saw Uddhav as being equal to Krishna indirectly. Therefore, she indicated that Uddhav was as unreliable as Krishna himself. Srimati Radharani wanted to give specific reasons why she was dissatisfied with Krishna and his messenger.
She addressed the bumblebee. Your master Krishna is exactly of your quality. You sit down on a flower, and after tasting a little honey, you immediately fly away and sit on another flower and taste. Similarly, only once did your master Krishna give me the chance to taste the touch of his lips, and then he left me altogether. I know also that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, who is always in the midst of the lotus flower, is constantly engaged in Krishna's service. But I do not know how she has become so captivated by Krishna and why she is so much attached to Krishna. Although she knows his actual character, maybe she is so much captivated by Krishna's sweet words that she cannot understand his real character. As far as we are concerned, we are more intelligent than the goddess of fortune. We are not going to be cheated anymore by Krishna or his messengers.
According to expert opinion, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is a subordinate expansion of Srimati Radharani. As Krishna has numerous expansions of Vishnu Murtis, so his pleasure potency, Radharani, also has innumerable expansions of goddesses of fortune. Therefore, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmiji, is always eager to be elevated to the position of the gopis. Srimati Radharani continued, "You foolish bumblebee, you are trying to satisfy me and get a reward by singing the glories of Krishna, but it is useless attempt. We gopis are bereft of all our possessions. We are away from our homes and families. We know very well about Krishna. We know even more than you. So whatever you make up about him will be old stories to us. Krishna is now in the city and is better known as the friend of Arjuna. He now has many new girlfriends. We are no doubt very happy in his association. Because the lusty, burning sensation of their breast has been satisfied by Krishna, they are now happy. If you go there and glorify Krishna, they may be pleased to reward you. You are just trying to pacify me by your behavior as a flatterer, and therefore you have put your head under my feet. But I know the trick you are trying to play. I know that you are a messenger coming from an even greater trickster, Krishna. Therefore, please leave me."
I can understand that you are expert in reuniting two opposite parties, but at the same time, you must know that I cannot place my reliance upon you, nor upon your master Krishna. We left our husbands, children, and relatives only for Krishna, yet he did not feel any obligation in exchange. At last, he left us forlorn. Do you think we can place our faith in him again? We know that Krishna cannot live for a moment without the association of young women. That is his nature. He is finding difficulty in Mathura because he is no longer in the village among innocent cowherd girls. He is in aristocratic society and must be feeling difficulty in making friendships with other young girls. Perhaps you have come here to canvass again or to take us there. But why should Krishna expect us to go there? He is greatly qualified to entice all other girls, not only in Vrindavan or Mathura, but all over the universe. His wonderfully enchanting smile is so attractive, and his movements of his eyebrows are so beautiful that he can call for any woman from the heavenly, middle, or plutonic planets. Even Mahalakshmi, the greatest of all goddesses of fortune, hankers to render him some service. In comparison to all these women of the universe, what are we? We are very insignificant.
Krishna advertises himself as magnanimous, and he is praised by great saints. His qualifications would be perfectly utilized if he would only show us some mercy, for we are so much downtrodden and neglected by him. You poor messenger, you are only a less intelligent servant. You don't know much about Krishna, how ungrateful and hard-hearted he has been, not only in his life but in his previous lives also. We have all heard this from our grandmother Purnamasi. She has informed us that Krishna was born in a Kshatriya family previous to this birth and was known as Ramachandra. In that birth, instead of killing Vali, an enemy of his friend, in the manner of Kshatriya, he killed him just like a hunter. A hunter takes a secure hiding place and then kills an animal without facing it. So Lord Ramachandra as a Kshatriya should have fought with Bali face to face, but instigated by his friend. He killed him from behind a tree. Thus he divided from the religious principles of Kshatriya. Also, he was so attracted by the beauty of Sita that he converted Surpanakhana, the sister of Ravana, into an ugly woman by cutting off her nose and ears.
Shurpanakha proposed an intimate relationship with him. As a Kshatriya, he should have satisfied her. But he was so henpecked that he could not forget Sita Devi and converted Shurpanakha into an ugly woman. Before that birth as a Kshatriya, he took his birth as a Brahmana boy known as Vaman Deva and asked charity from Bali Maharaja. Bali Maharaja was so magnanimous that he gave him whatever he had. Yet Krishna as Vaman Dev ungratefully arrested him just like a crow and pushed him down to the Patala kingdom. We know all about Krishna and how ungrateful he is. But here is the difficulty. In spite of his being so cruel and hard-hearted, it is very difficult for us to give up talking about him. And it is not only we who are unable to give up this talk, but great sages and saintly persons also engage in talking about him. We gopis of Vrindavana do not want to make any more friendships with this blackish boy, but we do not know how we shall be able to give up remembering and talking about his activities.
Since Krishna is absolute, his so-called unkind activities are as relishable as his kind activities. Therefore, saintly persons and great devotees like the gopis cannot give up Krishna in any circumstances. Lord Chaitanya therefore prayed, Krishna, you are free and independent in all respects. You can either embrace me or crush me under your feet, whatever you like. You may make me broken-hearted by not letting me see you throughout my whole life, but you are my only object of love.
In my opinion, Srimati Radharani continued, no one should hear about Krishna because as soon as a drop of the nectar of his transcendental activities is poured into the air, one immediately rises above the duality of attraction and rejection. Being completely freed from the contamination of material attachment, one gives up attachment for the material world, including family, home, wife, children, and everything else materially dear to every person. Being deprived of all material acquisitions, one makes his relatives and himself unhappy. Then he wanders in search of Krishna, either as a human being or in other species of life, even as a bird, and voluntarily accepts the profession of a mendicant. It is very difficult to actually understand Krishna, his name, his qualities, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, and his entourage.
Srimati Radharani continued to speak to the black messenger of Krishna. Please do not talk any more about Krishna. It is better to talk about something else. We are already doomed like the black-spotted she-deer in the forest who are enchanted by the sweet musical vibration of the hunter. In the same way, we have been enchanted by the sweet words of Krishna, and by thinking of the rays of his toenails again and again, we are becoming more and more lusty for his association. Therefore, I request you not to talk of Krishna anymore.
These talks of Radharani with the bumblebee messenger, including her accusing Krishna in so many ways and at the same time expressing her inability to give up talking about him, are signs of the topmost transcendental ecstasy called Mahabhava. The ecstatic Mahabhava manifestation is possible only in the persons of Radharani and her associates. Great acharyas like Srila Rupa Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have analyzed these Mahabhava speeches of Srimati Radharani and described their different varieties, such as Udkurna or bewilderment and Jalpa Pratijalpa or talking in different ways. These are the signs of Ujjvala Rasam or the brightest jewel of love of Godhead.
While Radharani was talking with the bee, and the bee was flying hither and thither, it all of a sudden disappeared from her sight. She was in full mourning due to separation from Krishna and felt ecstasy by talking with the bee. But as soon as the bee disappeared, she became almost mad, thinking that the messenger bee might have returned to Krishna to inform him all about her talking against him. Krishna must be very sorry to hear it, she thought. In this way, she overwhelmed by another type of ecstasy.
In the meantime, the bee, flying hither and thither, appeared before her again. She thought, Krishna is still kind to me, in spite of the messengers carrying disruptive messages. He is so kind that he has again sent the bee to take me to him. Srimati Radharani was very careful this time not to say anything against Krishna. My dear friend, I welcome you. She said, Krishna is so kind that he has again sent you. Krishna is so kind and affectionate to me that he has fortunately sent you back. In spite of your carrying my message against him, all good fortune to you, my dear friend. Now you may ask from me whatever you want. I shall give you anything because you are so kind to me. You have come to take me to Krishna because he is not able to come here, being surrounded by new girlfriends in Mathura. But you are a tiny creature. How can you take me there? How will you be able to help me meet Krishna while he is taking rest there with the goddess of fortune and embracing her to his chest? Never mind. Let us forget all these things about my going there or sending you. Please let me know how Krishna is faring in Mathura. Tell me if he still remembers his foster father Nanda Maharaj, his affectionate mother Yashoda, his cowherd friends, and his poor friends like us, the gopis. I am sure he must sometimes sing about us, who served him just like maid servants without any payment. Is there any possibility that Krishna will come back and place his aguru-scented hand on our heads? Please put all these inquiries to Krishna.
Uddhava was standing near and he heard Radharani talking in this way, as if she had become almost mad for Krishna. He was exceedingly surprised at how the gopis were accustomed to thinking of Krishna constantly in the topmost ecstasy of Mahabhava love. He had brought a message in writing from Krishna, and now he wanted to present it before the gopis just to pacify them. He said, My dear gopis, your mission of human life is now successful. You are all wonderful devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you are eligible to be worshipped by all kinds of people. You are worshipable throughout the three worlds because your minds are wonderfully absorbed in thought of the Vasudeva Krishna. He is the goal of all pious activities and ritualistic performances, such as giving charity, rigidly following the austerity of vows, undergoing severe penances, and igniting the fire of sacrifice. He is the purpose behind chanting different mantras, reading the Vedas, controlling the senses, and concentrating the mind in meditation. These are These are some of the many different processes for self realization and attainment of perfection of life, but actually they are meant only for realizing Krishna and dovetailing oneself in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality Godhead. This is the last instruction of the Bhagavad-Gita also. Although there are descriptions of different process of self-realization, at the end Krishna recommends that one give up everything and simply surrender unto him. All other processes are meant for teaching one how to surrender ultimately unto the lotus feet of Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita also says that this surrendering process is completed by a sincere person after executing the process of self realization in wisdom and austerity for many births.
Since the perfection of such austerity was completely manifested in the lives of the gopis, Uddhava was fully satisfied upon seeing their transcendental position. He continued, "My dear gopis, the mentality you have developed in relationship with Krishna is very, very difficult to attain, even for great sages and saintly persons. You have attained the highest perfectional stage of life. It is a great boon for you that you have fixed your minds upon Krishna and have decided to have Krishna only, giving up your families, homes, relatives, husbands, and children for the sake of the Supreme Personality. Because your minds are now fully absorbed in Krishna, the Supreme Soul, universal love has automatically developed in you. I think myself very fortunate that I have been favored by your grace to see you in this situation."
When Uddhava said that he had a message from Krishna, the gopis were more interested in hearing the message than in hearing about their exalted position. They did not very much like being praised for their high position. They showed their anxiety to hear the message Uddhava had brought from Krishna. Uddhava said, "My dear gopis, I am especially deputed to carry this message to you, who are such great and gentle devotees. Krishna has specifically sent me to you because I am his most confidential servitor."
Uddhava did not deliver to the gopis the written message brought from Krishna, but he personally read it to them. The message was very gravely written so that not only the gopis but all empiric philosophers might understand how pure love of God is, intrinsically integrated with all the different energies of the Supreme Lord. From Vedic information, it is understood that the Supreme Lord has multi energies. Parasya Saktir Vividhav Sruyate. Also, the gopis were such intimate personal friends of Krishna that while he was writing the message for them, he was so moved that he could not write distinctly. Uddhava, as a student of Brihaspati, had very sharp intelligence. So instead of handing over the written message, he thought it wise to read it personally and explain it to them.
Read that paragraph.
Uddhava continued, "These are the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear gopis, my dear friends, please know that separation between ourselves is impossible at any time, at any place, or under any circumstances, because I am all pervading."
This is all pervasiveness of Krishna is explained in Bhagavad-Gita in both the 9th and 7th chapter. In the 9th chapter, Krishna is described as all pervasive in his impersonal future. Everything rests in him, but he is not personally present everywhere. And in the 7th chapter, it is stated that the 5 gross elements earth, water, fire, air, and sky And the three subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and ego, are all his inferior energies. But there is another superior energy which is called the living entity. The living entities are also directly part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is both the material and efficient cause of everything. He is always intermingled with everything as cause and effect. Not only the gopis but all living entities are always inseparably connected with Krishna in all circumstances. The gopis, however, are perfectly and thoroughly in cognizance of this relationship with Krishna, whereas the living entities under the spell of Maya, the energy are forgetful to Krishna and think themselves separate entities having no connection with him.
Love of Krishna consciousness, is therefore the perfection of real knowledge in understanding things as they are. Our minds can never be vacant. The mind is constantly occupied with some kind of thought, and the subject matter of such thought cannot be outside the 8 elements of Krishna energies. One who knows the philosophical aspect of all thoughts is actually a wise man, and he surrenders unto Krishna. The gopis are the epitome of this perfectional stage of knowledge. They are not simple mental speculators. Their minds are always in Krishna. The mind is nothing but the energy of Krishna. Actually, any person who can think, feel, and will cannot be separated from Krishna. But the stage in which he can understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is called Krishna consciousness. The diseased condition in which he cannot understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is the contaminated stage or Maya. Since the gopis are on the platform of pure transcendental knowledge, their minds are always filled with Krishna consciousness.
This concludes 1 hour of reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. We will continue where we ended next week. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for allowing us to come and read Krishna book to you. We offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. And to each other. Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna